directly above the Hollywood sign, it's ChrenBen's Friend Trends with Aaron Crennan and Ben Lepley, the working model of a healthy friendship.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the very first ChrenBen's Friend Trends podcast. My name's Aaron Crennan, and I'm alongside my best friend, Ben Lepley.
Hey, bud.
Still got to work the kinks out on this very first episode of the ChrenBen's Friend Trends podcast.
I don't know when to talk and when to not talk.
We need to raise our hands so we know. But actually, today we're alongside our very special guest, and we're so pleased to have her with us.
So pleased.
Sam Roy.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, of course.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for getting cozy on our couch with us.
We all have the same inflection. Oh, my God. Thanks for being here. Glad to be here.
It's going to be the rest of the show. Oh, my God.
Welcome aboard.
This is so fantastic.
Oh, my gosh, you guys, I'm in like a best friend sandwich.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very much so. Yes.
We've been doing the best friend thing for quite a while now, but we've known each other since high school.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Although we didn't know each other too well, we were sort of passing acquaintances back then.
What does that even mean, passing acquaintances?
Well, we went to a very big high school, and there was a quarter-mile hallway, which was
what?
a fourth of a mile long, and it was
literally.
Yeah, it really was, and
people always did this thing where sidebar. Sorry.
Sidebar. I hope that every time we go off on a tangent, it's announced sidebar.
Sidebar.
No, but they had to there was 7 minutes between classes, and if you for instance, had class at one end of it and at the other end of it, you almost couldn't walk there, and if you had to go to your locker, you couldn't.
Yeah.
So it was this big thing about kids would be like, I have to go all the way back and forth.
I think my pastime was 3 minutes in between classes.
Oh, really?
Was it
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
It was sprints.
Guys, that's how they do that shit in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. You get your shit done and get out in Vegas. Wait, where is home for you guys? High school.
West Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah, that's where we went to high school.
Iowa.
Yeah.
Holy shit, how big was your school?
Man, it was 1,500.
No, it was more than that. But there's a ninth grade building. It's very stupid and confusing.
A separate ninth grade building?
Yeah. So we got so big that they took our freshman class and they put them in a separate building across town.
No.
And it was this weird pod system there. So the junior highs came together and sort of integrated in this ninth grade building. Then once everyone was friends, they moved them to the big high school. It was nuts.
And an architectural friend father of ours.
I'm sorry, architectural friend father?
Exactly.
Makes total sense.
They first time they went to the school, he instantly started looking around and be like, well, this is built like a prison. And then you look at prison, you can find prison blueprints that are these are very similar. The lunch area was off to the side, there's holding cells essentially. It was just.
Did you ever see Oz on HBO?
No.
So basically it's about this prison, and they try a new form of prison architecture where it's an enclosed city, and everybody has a pod that they live in. Well, that's the same as this ninth grade building. It was all prison pods where you were you had your general population in the upper level pod, and they were all color coded too. So it was blue up, blue down, red up, red down, green up, green down.
What?
Yeah, and I remember I was blue down, and you were.
I was red down.
Yeah,
which was they had the only big guy math teacher, so they put all the troublemakers there.
Yeah,
you were a troublemaker.
I was not a troublemaker. So he was also. This was very interesting. This dynamic of this. There was there was this a group. We'll say 33%, if we break it down fictionally. 33% of them were me. He's kind of your average run-of-the-mill student.
Okay.
But then that teacher also happened to be the only one who taught Trig C.
Oh.
So you got the ultra smart kids in this
God.
group, and then you also got the drug deals happened in Red Down, and so it was this. There was everyone's kind of not supposed to be there, it seemed like. But then
smart kids have to legitimately fear for their safety.
It was weird. Exactly. It was weird too because the lockers kind of created these corridors that you could get lost in, and it was you could hide from. It was very easy to hide.
I remember
That's so crazy.
walking by Red Down one day, and really all the lockers were red, the walls were painted red. Mm-hmm. It was hey kids, go to the color we tell you. It was all blue walls, all blue lockers, all red walls, all red lockers. I walked by Red Down one day, and one of the middle sections of lockers, it was like a standalone like wall of lockers, was being rocked back and forth, the foundation coming up from the ground.
What?
And you just heard like hooting and hollering. It was like, oh, I got to get back to Blue
You're
Down.
Like, never, ever again will I go to Red Down. Well, so no wonder you guys didn't cross paths often.
Not back then.
Not
You were in different downs.
We were in different pods.
But then we went to
Different pod colors.
the school with the half-mile hallway, but then eventually we my best friend and his best friend became friends, and then like through that relationship we then met. And actually I remember one of the very early on meetings or encounters, I should say, the four of us were all standing in the hall, and then Scott was like, oh, I gotta head off to class, and it's like, oh, see ya, Scott. And then Dan's like, oh, I gotta head off to class too, and he goes the other way, and then it's
This
just Ben and
awkward
I.
standing.
It was like, hey man.
What's up?
You like Red Dwarf too? Cool.
Yeah, exactly right.
Great.
Nice.
I run
My
track. Do
high
you
school.
run?
Oh.
Sorry.
No.
I started talking about sports all of a sudden.
No, I liked
going
it.
back to a
Let's
I was
world.
like,
nip that in the
track.
bud.
Oh God.
We had sort of the same thing. It was a math and science academy, but it was also the math and science academy was connected to the worst school in town, like the ghetto school. And so it was, I remember like eating lunch and the school's on lockdown because two of the gangs at the school are like fighting in the cafeteria. And my favorite thing is they like put the basketball team and made sure they were safe in the gymnasium and everyone else had to like fucking fend for themselves as like they made sure to get all the star athletes okay. But I mean,
That's really a
all the
microcosm for real life, if you think about it.
I mean, think about it. Everyone's like,
ready.
whatever, you're not a celebrity. Bye. So yeah, my school, I would be in like a honors class, but we'd also have, we'd be getting taught honors, and then kids that could barely pass the class just sit in the back. And they used to bring in Tang, but like put vodka in the Tang.
Oh my God.
And so if you saw an orange juice being passed, you're like, this motherfucker's yeah.
It is like jail
Yeah.
in many ways. Mm-hmm. What else happened to you in high school?
I had a very interesting high school experience.
More interesting than the prison? I don't
pretty
know.
sure. Actually, it's very similar to going to prison.
Good.
So I played a lot of sports in high school. I was that girl. I played soccer, volleyball, and softball. But my volleyball team was the most interesting. I started my freshman year, and the coach kind of like took me under her wing, and she was young. I was, I don't know, freshman year. What are you?
14, 15
14,
maybe?
15?
Oh, wait. Freshman? Oh, yeah, 14, 15. Yep.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking 13, 14.
Wow.
Way off.
Way
Wow,
off.
way
Dumb,
off.
dumb.
I'm so embarrassed for you. So she took me under her wing, and I thought she was like the coolest. She played pro. She played all through college. I love that I said pro first and then went back to college. Like college playing is better than pro. But she was great. The guys loved her at school. The girls wanted to be her, and so I did. I wanted to be this coach. And so, yeah, she took me under her wing. By the time I was a sophomore, I was on varsity, and I was like the middle hitter because I was the tall girl with this huge red hair. I was that girl.
What did your jersey say?
My jersey said Big Red. I'm not going to lie. I was number 10, Big Red. Don't even get me started on my Letterman's jacket. It's embarrassing.
Oh, my God.
But by junior year, I started going to camps and stuff, I'm going to play in college. And my coach just, working with me after school, this and that. So senior year rolls around, and the only way to get to college for volleyball, you have to play on an outside club team. So I auditioned for the biggest club team. It's called Club Vegas. And
Sounds pretty hip.
it's pretty hip. No, it's not.
21 and over.
Hey,
Girls
just
drink
blackjack
free till
and
midnight.
booze and also volleyball. So I try out, and then I get a call while I was at rehearsal for a play I was in. Yeah, guys.
Oh, your future career.
Guys,
Volleyball getting in the way.
Work out. So I'm at rehearsal. I get a call. You made the team, and I'm like, oh my God, literally cry. Oh my God, so happy. So I go to the first not tryout. I go to the first practice and I'm like, all right. And there's the A team, and it was the team that played last year, and they were the traveling team. And then there was my team. It was all the people that just got it this year. So it kind of felt like we were the B team on the side, but I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I was so happy to be there.
You're going for it.
Yeah. So stoked. My coach comes and she's like, yeah. So I like play my heart out at this practice. And after practice, they're like, all right, huddle up. And we're all like, yeah, man, I hope they saw my outside hits. And so they're like, all right, B team. And we're like, yep. Yeah. They're like, yeah, we lost funding. You guys are all cut. A team, you guys are our travel and our stay team. And everyone's like, cool, see you tomorrow. And I'm like, cool, okay.
I want to believe it was that fast.
It literally was that fast. And they were like, good job, guys. And we're like, but nothing. It was like someone's like, I break up with you, bye.
Oh my God.
And so I like tried to keep a straight face on. Like, all right, it's not a big deal.
The coach is stabbing your volleyball.
The coach is like, oh no. So we walk out and she's like, hey, come here, come sit in my car, come here. And I'm like, I'm just like devastated, I'm embarrassed. She's like my idol.
Now, are you crying at this point, or have you been holding? Okay, yeah.
But I wait till we get into her car and I'm crying.
Then it's waterworks.
Like, yeah, I'm like, oh my God, it was so dumb. And she's like, hey, things happen for a reason. All right, you don't need this. It's fine. You're still gonna get into college. I'm like, yeah. So then she's like, hey, you know what? I went grocery shopping before this. So hold on. Reaches in the back seat and she has a 6-pack of beer. And I was like, oh my God, she's so cool.
That is the coolest adult
right?
ever.
I'm like, yeah, she gets it. At this point, I'm like, I think 17, maybe 18. I don't think I turned 18 yet.
Okay.
And so she's like, you know what, let's have a beer. And I was like, yeah, man, let's have a beer. So we're drinking a beer and I'm just like, I'm going on and on. And then I start going on about my boyfriend, like, and he doesn't get it. And like, I'm just now venting and complaining.
Slowly the walls come crumbling
like my
down.
life. I'm like, nothing makes sense. And she's like, I wanted this for you. And I wish you were with someone who got you. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. And then I'm looking out the window. I just remember this moment. Like, God, yeah. And I'm like, thanks for understanding. And then I just remember a hand grabbing my face and turning my head and then a full kiss. What? Like full kiss. Side note or sidebar, if I may.
Thank you.
The softest kiss I probably ever received in my life. And I do remember that it was like an out of body experience, me trying to realize what was happening. And then I was like, oh, and now there's a tongue in my mouth. Okay.
Oh my God.
Like, so it's happening. It's going on as I'm sitting there. And then I become very aware, like, oh, I'm making out with my volleyball coach. This needs to not be happening. So I remember being like, oh, I think I'm drunk. You know what? I should go. Which I love that I used, I think I'm drunk. And I drank probably a fourth of my beer. And also my idea was, I'm drunk. I better go drive home. Like,
right.
And that she was going to be like, cool.
In
Which
hindsight.
she was. She was like, oh, right. Yeah, no, totally. And I was like, oh, totally. Oh my God. So then I'm like scrambling to get all my shit out of her car. And she's like, great. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Because tomorrow there was school. Which also, because it was my senior year, you get to pick what, who your teacher aide for. Yeah, I'm her teacher's aide.
No way.
Cool. So before that, a couple other of the volleyball players, we were aides in her class, and we would never go to her class. We'd always go to all 3 lunches. So not showing up to her class was not a big thing. You could just, we're at lunch. So I remember being like, well, looks like I'm going to all 3 lunches tomorrow and the next day and every day until school ends. So I go to the lunches and I'm like, okay, I'm able to avoid her all day. And I'm still like, my brain is swirling and swirling. I'm just like, what the fuck happened? No, that happened. Wait, what? So I make it all the way till Thursday. This happened on like a Monday or Tuesday. In between classes, I'm at my locker for something, and I can just feel like a presence. And I'm like, oh, no. And I turn, and it's her, and she's like, hey. And I'm like, hey. And she's like, I just wanted to let you know I'm going to call in sick to work tomorrow in case you wanted to maybe hang out.
This is an adult woman
An adult.
charged
I'm pretty
with
sure
teaching children.
She's like, at this point, 31 and I'm 17. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I have a test because I'm a student.
At the school
At the
you
school.
teach at.
So I'm like, sorry. So I don't obviously skip school on Friday.
Do you ever think about what might have been?
I'm gonna go with no.
I might think about that a few
So
times.
just a second. No, I do remember though. I've always like not prided myself, but I always have been like kind of like teacher's pet in classes, like whatever. Guys, I'm that girl. And
we know, Sam.
and my senior year, it fucking drove me nuts that my English teacher didn't like me, Miss McGarvey. No idea why. Didn't know what was up. I was always like so cool to her, and like we had fun in her class. I'm like, why does she just blow me off or just act like I don't exist? So the next week, haven't seen my coach all weekend, and at like 2 a.m. one night, my cell phone rings, and I pick it up out of like a slumber. Guys, I had a cell phone my senior year. I don't want to brag.
I didn't want to derail the story, but I was like, that's pretty fucking cool that you had a cell phone to ring at 2 a.m.
I was pretty hip. I had an orange Nokia. Okay, moving on. So it rings, and like I don't even look. I'm like, hello, and it's my coach, and she's like, hey, I just haven't seen you in a little bit, and I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, I've been like super busy. She's like, I just wanted to tell you I'm a lesbian. And I'm like, oh no, I kind of got that. Like, you pretty much didn't need this phone call. Like, I pretty much got that. And she's like, yeah, I was dating Mrs. McGarvey up until last year.
All the puzzle pieces.
And I'm like, oh, wait, what? And she's like, then I broke up with her because I told her I was in love with you. The year before. And I'm like, what? And she's like, and I haven't said anything. She's like, you're pretty quiet. I'm like, well, he just gave me a lot to chew on. So,
wait,
and then
really quick. Is it possible that she actually put you on B team and cut you to get in a vulnerable state?
Ooh.
So in the car, she could finally make her move?
Well, I mean, think about it. We could have celebrated with beers after practice.
No, this is a bogus fan theory.
I bet she knew. I bet she knew one way or another.
Right.
Something was going to
That
happen.
celebration beers or consolation beers were going to happen in that car.
How long was... Here's what I find interesting. How long was the practice? She goes to like...
It was,
she went to grocery
it was probably
shopping.
like 2.5 hour practice.
And she just had groceries in the back
yeah,
seat?
I'm like, what
From
else
like
is back
3
there? Isn't that
hours
milk
before?
gonna go bad?
Wait
I
a
bet it was
minute.
just a case of beer.
I bet there was like other things. Had she taken it a little bit further, it was like she was well, it's like, oh, and this is some chocolate.
I
covered in
just
strawberries.
happened to have this massage oil in the back.
I also got this at the grocery store.
Yeah,
Massage
you can get
oil.
all of this. I'm like, wait, and this negligee. Hold on.
The kiosk by
Wait
the
a
gum.
second.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that sidebar.
No,
Please resume your
any
story.
sidebars. Let's see. I'll give you the abridged version of the rest of it. So go back to school. It's nearing the end of school. At one point, the volleyball is at the beginning of the year, so we're already done. But all of the team, it was towards the end of the year, so we're doing some function, getting ready for maybe like I don't know, senior night or saying goodbye. And we all break into where the cheerleaders have all their foam stuff where they can do flips and stuff and land on foam. And we all end up like wrestling and stuff. All the volleyball girls. Yeah, guys, it happened. On the foam. Oh my God. On the foam pit. And before I know it, I'm being tackled and I look up and it's my coach. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, no.
And she whispers, I haven't touched you in so long. And I'm like, oh, I gotta go. And mind you, like, I'm so embarrassed about the whole thing because, like, sexual harassment or weird things is like something you see in a movie.
We should be
it doesn't
laughing
happen
about
to you.
this, really.
No, it's funny.
Okay, good.
And so,
good.
like, I can't tell any of my friends this is happening because all my friends are still like, our coach is so cool. And I'm like, oh, God. And so then, like, senior night happens and we have this big volleyball night. All of our parents come and she gives everyone like a gift or something, which is like a picture of them from the season. And I get 2 posters, a card, a huge frame, another frame, a frame that has like writing around the thing. And I like looking back, I'm like, hey, Mom, Dad, you don't think that's weird? Like everyone else got a photograph, not in a frame. And I got like enough to put up a shrine in my room of myself as a volleyball player. I'm like,
did they think it was weird?
No. And they were like, man, she loved you. And I'm like, oh, but literally she loved me. So I graduate. Oh, I almost go to school at Concordia in California for volleyball. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to do volleyball. I want to do acting. So I don't go. I find out she applied to be the coach at Concordia when I got my scholarship offer from Concordia.
No.
Yeah. And then when I didn't go, she didn't take the position.
Oh my God.
And then 5 years after I graduate, I get a phone number, a call that I don't recognize. I don't pick it up and I don't check it till later that night. It's my coach and she's leaving a message like very late at night and it's very hushed. Like you can tell she might be hiding. And she's like, hey, I've been looking for this number. I've been wanting to call for a while. I just wanted to let you know I'm getting married to a man and I just wanted to talk to you first. If you could give me a call back. Leaves her number. And I never called.
And that was that.
And that's the end of me and my coach's love affair.
What a saga.
Oh, my God.
Thank you for opening up and going back there.
Yeah, guys.
Oh, my God. That's more.
So that happened. So kind of like prison, but weirder.
No.
I actually, to build on that really quickly, this is almost the perfect segue. Prisons and schools. Aaron and I went to the same college. And the dorm that I lived in freshman year, 2 towers that were across from each other, Bender and Dancer.
I mean, what are you guys, reindeers?
Exactly. That was the big joke. So Bender and Dancer were, as the story goes, were actually built by prison architects during the Vietnam War, essentially. And they were built by prison architects because they didn't want the students to band together to protest. What? So and Aaron can attest to this. In Bender, when you would open your dorm door, instead of there being like a hearthy area or like a cool zone to hang out, it was a brick wall. And all of the rooms were like cubes, super tiny cubes.
They were awful.
Like little like sliver of a window. And the doors to each dorm were metal. So when they were closed, they created this wind tunnel. Oh. So when you were in your dorm at night, you would just hear.
So that's not creepy.
No, it's such a nightmare. So outside of there, across the campus, it was the second windiest campus behind Juneau, Alaska. Oh. It would get freezing cold, like -20 with wind chill. So in a lot of ways, college wasn't like college. It was like being in a gulag prison.
Surviving.
Exactly. It was like a big survival test for 4 years. So like obviously when you're going to class, and this isn't too uncommon for people who go to schools in cold climates, but you would run from building to building. There was
no socializing.
Yeah, no. You for class it was like you'd zone down, you'd like laser focus on where you were going.
You stretch, get ready, and then you go.
And because if you didn't go fast enough, your nose, your ears, you'd lose circulation immediately. So what we would do is run into these buildings and like smack our ears and our faces to get the blood going. Then we'd run over to the next building and you'd lose like all feeling in your extremities, and then you'd slap your face around to try to get the blood back in. Then you'd run to the next building and you'd crisscross across campus.
Oh my God.
Apparently doing this is really bad for your system. I didn't know at the time. So I'm sitting in this life sciences class, and as I'm sitting there, I feel like somebody just stabs me in the heart, like through my rib cage. And I go, ooh! And I lean down, hunker over, clutching my chest, and it feels like I'm having a heart attack. And I can't make any noise. Like I can't make a sound. And I look to my left.
Because you don't want to, or because you physically can't?
I physically can't. I can't get the air in my body to like make the sound. And I'm like, it really felt like I was dying. So I look to the left, I look to the right, and nobody's noticed that I've done this. And I can't like get anyone's attention. So I'm like, I don't want to bother anyone. So I'm just going to sit here for the rest of class and not like cause a ruckus. So I'm sitting there with this like throbbing pain in my chest. Can't really get a full breath for 20 minutes. The class finally wraps up. And then I have to wait for everybody to kind of get up, get their bags, chit chat a little bit and clear out. And eventually I'm the last person sitting in this room. It's this empty room. The lights are off at this point. I'm by myself, holding myself in pain. And I'm like, all right, let's just try to get up and go back to the dorm room. So I stand up, slump over to one side, like I can't like stand upright. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on?
I'm dying.
I kept thinking it was a heart attack because all the pain was around the heart. I was like, it's like cardiac arrest, but I'm still alive after like 5 minutes. So what is this? So I start to walk outside and I want to play it cool. I don't want to seem like anything's really the matter. So I pass this one kid and I'm like slumped, like completely leaned over to one side. So my legs are straight and then my torso, head, body are all like angled out.
And I love that you're playing it cool.
That's how I keep it real. So I pass this guy who lives on my floor and he's like, hey man, we're like meeting up at like this bar. Clearly I never partied. Hey man, we're meeting up at this bar. Those were his words, not mine. So he's like, hey, we're like meeting yeah. We're meeting up with Big Red tonight. So he's like, we're meeting at some party or something, and I'm like, cool man, yeah, I'll be there. That's like I couldn't get air past my vocal cords. He's like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna head to student health. Shouldn't be a problem. I'll be fine for this evening. Keep planning your plans. So I have to like trudge back through through the wind and the snow, and like I don't know what's going on. I'm starting to actually genuinely freak out at this point because the pain's not letting up. It's not I thought maybe for a second maybe it's like a super cramp and I just need to like walk it off.
Air bubble.
Yeah, exactly. Not the case. So that year, student health was under construction, so they had to make a makeshift student health in Dancer, the other tower. So they took over one of the floors of dorm rooms and they converted them into like little medical units.
So those prison cubes.
Yeah, these little cubes. It was like they rolled in like gurneys with like crepe paper on them. They had like drawers full of medicine, but they were kept in like the closets where kids kept their clothes and bongs and like porn and everything. This now was housing their medical supplies like penicillin and gauze. So I go in, I'm placed onto one of these gurneys, and this doctor comes in, asks me a few questions about like the pain, sort of feels around my chest and whatnot, and he goes, okay, well, there's no way this is anything but serious. I'm like, oh, all right.
So you're not making me feel better.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a sophomore, and I'm not good at college. And
can't even afford beer, let alone like a huge medical beer. What?
I don't know what's going on. I'm so confused. I'm like homesick all the time. I don't want to be in this Russian prison of a campus anymore. I was like, what does that mean? He's like, you got to get to a hospital like as soon as possible so they can check this out. He's like,
and you're like, can you send me? I literally can't walk.
Exactly. So, but that's the thing. He just leaves the room.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, wait, where are you going? He's like, well, what do you mean where am I going? He's like, get to a hospital. And I'm like, I can't. I'm a sophomore. I don't have a car. He goes, you're a sophomore and you don't have a car. I'm like, no. He's like, okay. I thought only freshmen didn't have cars.
What?
Well, do you have like a roommate or something, like a friend who could? And this is his tone.
And I love that he's now judging you. And like, you might as well die. You don't even have a car.
Hyper judgy.
You're taking this bad news really poorly, idiots.
Also, you seem like you're a social leper. But he's like, so can you call your roommate? I'm like, well, my roommate's in class. He's like, do you have any other friends? God, he's like so frustrated. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. He's like, all right, I guess I can call campus security and we'll see if they can make the time to come swing you by the hospital. After this man said it could be nothing but serious.
Yeah, this is super serious, but you know what? Figure it out.
Yeah, take care of yourself, Lepley. So I'm sitting on this gurney like for the longest 5 minutes ever, like, what's going on? Why is this man being so mean to me? And like, am I going to die? He said it was serious. He comes back in, he's like, good news. One of the campus cops is willing to come pick you up and take you to the hospital. So head out back, go wait by the dumpster outside behind the building. I'm like, okay, thanks for your time.
Oh my God.
So I go down the stairs, giant dumpster out back. And it hurts so much to stand at this point that I lay down on the ground by this open dumpster and it starts to snow.
Shut up.
And I'm there for so long that I have a visible dusting of snow on me
No.
by the time that the campus cop gets there.
And the campus guy's like, is this guy dead?
Yo, he pulls up and I sit up and I'm like covered in white. You know, like when you get snow all over like your hair, so it looks like you're like an old person. So I sit up like Rip Van Winkle, covered in like ice. And he's like, are you Ben? I'm like, yeah. He's like, let's go.
I like how he might have been expecting someone else, but like, this isn't Ben. I got my work cut out for
Wrong dumpster.
Vagrant I've got to take care of now. He takes me to the hospital. They put a warm blanket on me, which is very nice of them.
Thank
they take
God.
some x-rays, and this surgeon comes out and he's like, hey, Ben. He's like, so one of your lungs has collapsed.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What?
And I'm like, but how? He goes, do you smoke? I go, no, I've never smoked in my life. He goes, you can tell me. You smoke?
No.
Come on, you smoke, right? I'm like, no, I don't smoke. He's like, well, skinny guys like you in their early 20s, late teens, when they smoke, their lungs tend to collapse. I'm like, well, that's not that. He's like, okay, have you been listening to loud music? Sometimes the vibrations.
What?
Yeah. I'm like,
Oh my God, I'm never listening to my music loud ever again.
please keep it at a reasonable volume or your lung will pop. And I'm like, well, no, that can't be the case. He's like, have you been in any cold weather lately? I'm like,
You're
I
like,
don't
did
know.
you look outside?
I just came from a blizzard.
Laying by a dumpster.
You had to put a microwaved blanket on me to
my
get me to
God.
talk. So yeah, I've been in some cold weather lately. He's like, well, sometimes when you like go in and outside a lot between cold weather, hot weather, he's like, that can cause it to happen as well. So that's probably the case. I'm like, okay, so what's going on? He's like, well, we're going to have to snake a tube through your rib cage to reinflate your lung.
Here's what I'm not okay with.
Right?
That.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm like, well, how long am I going to be in the hospital? And he goes, probably 4 to 5 days.
What?
This is like
The scariest thing ever for a fucking sophomore in college.
terrified. And I also don't know anything about like health insurance
Oh my God.
or like, am I going to be charged for
Is
this?
this going
Like,
to be $2 million?
what's going to happen? So at this point, I get my cell phone out and I call my family. And it's ringing, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm calling home to tell him what's going on. He's like, we're actually, and he looks over at this nurse who's loaded this IV up. And I hadn't realized it, but I had this IV in my arm, and she's putting this clear liquid into it. And I'm like,
No.
what's going on? He's like, oh, that's the anesthetic. It's going to put you out. Phone rings.
You're going into surgery?
My mom picks up. She's like, hey, honey, how's it going? I'm like, Mom, my lung collapsed. I'm going to go under the knife and I don't remember the end of the phone call.
No.
So apparently I wait.
And your mom's like, oh my God, my little boy just died.
What's happening? So apparently the surgeon picked up and filled her in. But I wake up and I have tape all over my chest and
my
my
God,
stomach
no.
and a big
Oh my
tube
God.
going into me. And I'm
gonna
like,
throw up.
oh, what's going on? Doctor comes in. Everything's fine. You're going to be in here for a few days. Mom drove up, saw some friends, came and visited me. It's horrible because I can't lean on one
Your mom
side.
saw some friends. You know,
Yeah,
I
it
could
was
go straight
nice.
to the hospital and see Ben,
It's
but
pretty cool. Actually, the hospital
see some friends.
hospital's the most boring part of the story, except that the surgeon kept coming in and being like, you think this is bad? Wait till we got to take the tube out.
No.
And then you'd be like, 3 days away, gonna pop out that tube, gonna be
No.
real bad. So and I want to get out of there, but then by the final day, I'm
You're
like,
wait, give me one more day.
yeah, one more day, please. One more day. What's it? Another half a day. I just don't want to, because the buildup was crazy.
Was it bad?
Oh my God. So he comes in.
Oh my God.
He's probably in cahoots with that medical assistant at the
Yeah.
university. He's like, this
He
guy's
doesn't have a
real
car?
thing. He says he doesn't smoke.
This
Yeah.
is the dick who doesn't have a fucking car.
You make that shit hurt. Don't give him any painkillers.
They're
Make
actually-
You know
it
what?
hurt.
Do a countdown. Do
Yeah.
a countdown.
They're twin brothers and they were bullies in high school. Then they became doctors.
He doesn't even have any other friends but his roommate.
What a-
Make it hurt.
What a goober. So he comes in, they give me some morphine. They take all the tape off.
Oh my God.
And he grabs the tube and he's like, okay, Ben. He's like, I'm going to count to 3 and then we're going to rip this out. And I'm like, okay, man. And he goes, 1. And I go, 1. And I start crying.
No.
And he goes, don't be a pussy, Ben.
No.
1, 2, 3, rip. I feel this fucking tube coil through me.
Oh
Flies
my
out.
God.
Blood just
no.
built up blood, like old blood.
Old blood just
all over
spraying
the place.
room.
So he puts tape all over the wound and
Oh my
everything.
God.
He puts bandages all over it. This nightmare is like finally over at this point. I finally think that I'm in the clear, right? So like we're checking out of the hospital. I haven't walked in 5 days. Like it's still freezing outside. I'm gonna go back to Des Moines for the weekend and rest up. I'm like, at least it's done. At least we can leave this gray waste behind.
no.
And he goes, oh, one more thing. He's like, you'll probably be fine, but there's a 40% chance it's gonna pop again.
Doctors hate you.
That was the last exchange we had.
That's insane.
He was like, but I'll see you again real soon.
Like, no one made any part of this experience okay for you.
No, it was horrible. And then the thing is, like, after that, I mean, like, I remember we got like Subway on the way home, and I feel
that made everything better.
I felt like just normal, like every once in a while, like, you know, you get like a weird little cramp in your rib. I felt that, and I was like, it's happening again.
No.
I have to go back. And it's just, I mean, to this day, like, really, if I feel any kind of pain around the chest, it's just immediately, I think.
I mean, does this affect, like, if you were to work out cardiovascular?
No, nothing. I mean, it's they said that you know, it's like lung function wasn't
So
affected.
your lung popped like a balloon, like it had a blowout?
They call it a spontaneous pneumothorax. So what happens is that the lung just tears, and then the air escapes it. So yeah, it's like essentially it is like.
But the coil that goes in, what is it? Sew it up? Like, what is?
Well, what happens? I say it, and it reinflates the lung, which I guess that's not super accurate. What it does is it takes the air out of the cavity. So it allows the lung to reinflate because it's taking the excess air out from around the lung.
But what repairs the tear? Or does that do it on its own?
It does it on its own, yeah. And I guess if it happens enough, they put in some kind of chemical. This was also described to me, I forgot about this, by a nurse. She was like, if this keeps happening, we're going to have to put in this chemical that causes scar tissue. It like burns.
Super fun.
And the scar tissue like melds your lung to your rib cage. So like, if the lung pops again, it's like fused to your bones, so it won't like fall into you.
And the doctor pops in and is like, I hope that happens. Not okay.
His brother pops in behind him.
Yeah.
Me too.
Hey,
You don't have a fucking card.
get a card, dickhead. What a nightmare.
No.
I remember once we were filming a short video, and I had said something that made Ben laugh really hard, and he goes, I think my lung collapsed. And I was like, whoa! And like he dropped to the ground. I was so scared.
But like legit, you did?
Oh yeah, it was like a phobia of mine for like the rest of college, and like even going outside in the cold every time I breathe, you know, like when you breathe in super cold air, like super bitter air, and it's like thin air. Yeah, it feels like you've ate a bunch of Altoids or something. I always think that is going to lead to like that stabbing feeling
that
again.
That terrifies me because like I don't run if it's too hot, but if it's too cold, I'm like, as long as I have earbuds in so I don't like burn my ears. But it does have this stinging sensation when it goes down. Now I'm going to be like, my lung's going to pop. Oh no.
I hope you find a doctor who doesn't judge you based on what transportation you do or do not have available to you.
What did you get hit with, like insane bills?
No. I mean, I was still on my parents' insurance, so it all worked out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my God. Aaron has some tales though from you and I. Let me tell you.
Well, the problem with you and I was, as it was described, like kind of a prison-y atmosphere.
Not really a fun college experience.
Cold tundra, lots of wind.
No.
Often I would go down south, if you will, just like an hour south was Iowa City, and that's where the University of Iowa was. And actually, that's the first college I went to.
It is to this day.
And it's to this day, yeah. They have not picked up and moved. But I would go down there often because I had gone there the year before.
Okay.
So like I had a lot of friends down there, and like it was a little bit more of like a partier scene, I guess. There was a lot more bars, and there's a lot more kids too. And there's like I'd go to football games. It was just like the whole atmosphere. Like I probably went down there too often, but I would usually try to go for football games. I'd go like the night before because I would always schedule it so I don't have Friday class. So I'd go like Thursday night, because that was when our mutual friend Scott, who actually we mentioned earlier, he had been my roommate, but he was in the band, and we'd always like went out and partied Thursday night. They'd have like these band keggers because Friday night they would do something called beer band and go around the town to like separate bars and play the fight song in each bar before game day, and it was like really amazing.
Would they give them free beer?
Oh, they got free beer.
Oh,
and
what
stuff.
a racket!
Oh,
right?
It was crazy. And then like
let's
Scott
go play the song and get tanked.
What's the song? 30 seconds long?
Oh, maybe. Like they probably played it twice, and then like, but at the end, I remember I'd always meet up with them like the last bar, and it's like so sloppy, but no one cares.
Everyone's blacking out. They can't even make out the fight song. And they're like, we're gonna give you a frack, give him some beer.
Did you bring like a flute with you, and you're like, I'm with the band?
Oh, right. No, like
Playing
it was
some spoons.
They had like jerseys on, so like to actually con them it'd be kind of hard. Like I forgot it, and
Right. So here's the thing.
so I go up on a Thursday, and I had started the night with those guys, and like kind of like did my own thing, but like I knew people there, so I didn't have to like stay with them, which was nice because they'd be moving bar to bar so quickly because I was like the way they got more free beer. So I actually ended up going to another bar, and then in doing so, I got drunk and I got out my phone and I texted a girl that I'd kind of been seeing at in Cedar Falls. So like it was like an hour away, but for some reason I was just like, oh man, too bad you aren't here. And then she's like, I am here.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh. But I was like,
this night's gonna get interesting.
And then she's like, yeah, I'm staying at my cousin's dorm room, but she is staying at her boyfriend's place, so I'm all alone.
No.
And I was like, okay,
this is happening.
I like it was one of those things where I absolutely did not expect anything like this to happen, and then all of a sudden, so I don't even like tell my friend that I'm leaving to go over there. So he was so worried about me the next morning. But let's get back to that night.
Oh God.
So what had happened was we went there, and it was a really weird situation because it was like an all girls floor. And
who's this man?
And so I was like a stranger. She's a stranger to all these girls, but like we have a key access to like this girl
just renting a dorm for the night,
right? And the thing about this girl is she like there's some like weird circumstance. I don't really know for sure, so I can't really say. But she would only like make out with me,
right?
Which was fine, but it was just like it was something,
right.
I guess
Something was happening.
So. But like it didn't really matter, I guess.
Right, you're like, I'm still getting some makeout on.
You're a good man,
right?
Yeah, and you were a gentleman, and
exactly.
I want all 0 of our listeners to know that.
Right. And so we're in this dorm, and like we're like waiting for something. Like we're like on the floor of the hallway, and I can't remember why we were doing that. But eventually we went into the room, and like I think we started to make out a little bit, whatever, and then she suggested, she's like, and this is so uncharacteristic of her, she's like, we should go shower. And I was like, oh okay,
gentleman mode,
let's go shower,
you dirty girl.
and so I follow her into the girls' shower, like it's like 2:30
into the girl, like
there's only one shower, so it's like the girls' shower,
the communal
room.
shower.
Were there any red flags thrown up, like strange woman, strange man entering all female shower
that anyone can walk into at any time?
Right. Oh well, she had to have a code, was the thing, so that was even like it was a little bit safer than I guess I was still in there, so it's quite threatening to anyone.
Yeah.
The system is flawed.
So we go in and like completely naked, like start showering, and it's amazing, as you can imagine. But like she's not really like sexually advanced,
and you're like, I don't get what's happening.
So I was like, what is going to happen? Because it was like the first time I had seen her naked as well, and I was like,
and you're like, not too shabby,
right? And then so she's actually like. We're actually like being a little more intimate than we had before, and whatever was like maybe it's because we're off in exotic Iowa City or something. But
all 0 of our listeners, total gentlemen the whole time,
right? And so like but then it turned into like an odd thing where like we actually showered. Like she was like, "Oh, get some shampoo." And
she's like, can you get my back? But literally just my back. Thank you. I got to shave real quick.
And so but we like got this like soap out, which sounds so stupid when I say it out loud. But like, so I washed her, like scrubbed her down.
Did.
But like, it was like a little more.
Describe
but it was a little more like I'm literally cleansing you, as opposed to like this is going.
But then it kind of started into it. Then she like started to like mess around, I guess.
Okay.
And so that was happening. I was like, oh, but then constantly throughout this, like there was girls coming into the bathroom to like throw up or like, I mean, like,
wait, could they see you, or is there
it was a partition. What was weird was it was a partition, but like only from the one giant shower room. So if any other girl would have, like, it's kind of like a locker room in that sense. You didn't have your own separate shower. It was like
so
a
if
communal...
any girl was like, I'm in a shower tonight, they'd be like, oh, that's a penis.
Right.
Okay.
And so that was happening. And so girls would come in, like, and I say they were puking because it was like they had gone out that night and like they were sophomores or freshmen. They can't handle the liquor. they're gonna go throw up in the bathroom, or they're gonna drunkenly go in there for some other reason.
They don't have bulimia, is what he's getting at.
Yes, exactly. That was my
Or they're
fear.
not from Las Vegas. So, but keep going.
Right.
Wink.
So, but I would be talking to her, and it was a constant like stream of like, is that a boy? You're not supposed to be in there.
No.
But I was drunk enough that I was like, shut up, and like, and
Shut up, we're just
the whole time
cleaning each other.
I'm like, I should have been thinking like, oh, this is how I am going to go to jail, because it's going to be like, who are you with? Her. Who is she with? Oh, they're gone. Why are you in the women's bathroom?
Like, why are you here? And also, why are you nude in the women's bathroom?
Yeah, you
like,
didn't
not even while you're on campus.
Right.
What
Right.
the fuck are you guys using this as like a campsite cleaning?
And she has no relation to the university. So,
Exactly.
like, yeah,
Oh
I mean,
my God.
you really were like a strange man with no.
If there ever was anyone to be arrested, it was both of you. Like, that is, yes. Okay, so how did this end up?
So like we then go back to like we finished showering's done. So like that I don't know how I would say half hour maybe. Like it was a long
wow.
time. I who knows?
It was a long, semi-sensual, mutual cleaning interrupted by vomit girl.
Probably the cleanest I've ever been.
Nice.
I mean, just all things considered.
Yes.
So we're gonna go back to like the dorm bed. And like we're still naked still, and like it's one of those weird things where it's like we didn't dry off in time, so now the bed's
God.
wet, and it was horrible.
What a
God.
nightmare.
But it's still
Sounds
like
horrible.
it's like getting a little like steamy, if you will. And, like,
Here we go.
like-
Finally.
it,
We
like-
dried those sheets off. Yeah, we did.
So I was like, oh, are we actually gonna have sex? But like I was always very aware, like I should not try to like
Right.
it had to be her,
Right.
Because of the pre-existing
Weird,
situation that had happened before. So I was like, okay, and so like she like starts like giving me like a hand job, I guess. But like it had been one of those things where she clearly hadn't done it before. So like I'd imagine if you read a book on it and then you thought you were doing it right,
Right.
and it was absolutely wrong. Absolutely.
You're like,
and I was
ow, oh, it's attached. Oh, that's just not even right.
it was one of those things where it's like that went on for way too long, and like
God.
I was too polite to be like stop. So I was just like,
no.
oh, let's put your hands on my arm, anywhere away from my
penis.
So like
Because my
that,
penis is raw and not happy right now.
but like we still like were like physically in
Right.
contact. So even when that stopped, like it was like long
There's a
story short,
chance, right.
end of the night, nothing happens. And I was like, well, okay.
So wait, her hands on your penis doing a horrible job. What are your hands doing?
Oh, they were down in her nether regions. So that was happening.
Okay.
And so flash forward, like next morning, it's surprisingly not that awkward like at all.
Nice.
It was just like, oh shit.
And you're both naked still.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was
on
like,
semi-damp sheets.
yeah, still dry,
in
because like
not your room.
realistically, we probably went to bed at 4:30
Right.
and like woke up because like whenever you're in a strange place, it's like 8
Oh, yeah.
o'clock. The sun's up. I need to go. But Scott was texting me. He's like,
no.
I'm so worried. Where are you? Oh my God, why didn't you come home? I hope you're somewhere safe.
Oh my
but he
God.
also knew that I knew people there.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I can't remember the name of the hall now, but I'm in so and so hall, and he's like,
Naked.
Don't worry, man. I just had a night of semi-sexual canoodling.
yeah, and he's like, oh, okay. Well, I gotta get my oil changed. So do you want to go to Best Buy? And I was like, sure, because the Best Buy was right next to where he got his oil change. And the thing, this was like 2004. So that was like the height of when like
Best Buys,
and, like,
all the rage.
CDs were still really
Right.
big. Like DVDs, if you got on like the day they came out, they were like half as expensive.
It
Like,
was a year to buy DVDs.
oh my gosh, so
Yes.
many good DVDs came out that year. I can't even explain to you. So we were really excited. So I was like, yeah, I'll go. And so it's kind of like a long drive, but like I say that in Iowa City terms, not like California terms. It's like 10 minutes, but it's just like, oh, are we there yet? Jesus.
Oh God.
And so on the way there, like, and I had drank a lot the night
Wait,
before.
and did she come with you?
No, she stayed behind.
Okay.
So it's just him and I now. And he's like, where were you last night? And I was like, oh, there's this girl that I, like, she happened to be in town, and she had like her, I explained it. The cousin's room was available, so we went. He's like, oh, nice. I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then like, I didn't really go into any details with him because I think it would have been kind of awkward
Right.
at that point. So we're almost to the Jiffy Lube, and I start getting this incredible cramping sensation. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, no.
Dude, I'm so hungover from last night. This is like the worst
Oh,
it's
no.
ever been. And he's like, oh man, that sucks. And then it kind of would come and go. And I was like, oh, well, all right, I guess that's just kind of the way it goes.
Oh, no.
And this still happens to me kind of like when I wake up, you're like groggy, then you get like a second wind in the morning.
Right.
And then it like hits you and you have to fall
Right.
asleep. But I was like, oh, I'm in Iowa City. I can't really, like, I don't have like that bed to go back to.
Right.
If anything, it's like a shitty college couch. So we go to Jivalu, drop out the car, and we walk to Best Buy. And the walk to Best Buy was just abysmal. And I was like, oh, it came back. It's like, why is this happening?
What's going on?
And so we get to Best Buy, and like we kind of separate because I was more of a CD guy, he's more of a DVD guy.
But at least you guys knew that about each other.
Right. So like,
Well, yeah, it was mutual.
we're away from each other, and like I'm just kind of walking, and that was at the time when there's like 30 rows of
Oh my
CDs, so
God.
like the selection was
yeah.
unlimited. And I'm like going up and down, then I'm like kind of back where like the jewel cases are, and like the other like CD basics, like where they keep, because there's like,
Oh yeah, when you want to burn your own.
yeah, exactly. They're like taller shelves is what I'm trying to
Right.
get at. And all of a sudden, like it hits again, and
God.
I honestly couldn't walk anymore. And like I fall into the shelf, like grabbing onto it, and I was like, ugh, ugh. And I start to like get down on my knees, and then I start to like crawl and like hanging on, and like DVDs are like flying off the shelf. And I'm like, ugh. Then some guy goes like, some stupid college kid, Best Buy employee was like, "Could I help you, sir?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Where's the bathroom?" And he's like, "It's in the back of the store, of course." So
Oh,
I was like,
God.
"Oh, okay." So like I'm like
Shuffling painfully.
Hobbit Gollum, like shuffling exactly to the bathroom. And I, of course, don't see Scott before any of this. And like it was almost too embarrassing to know or let him know. So I go to the bathroom and I try to pee because I thought that's what it was. And I was like, oh, I don't have to pee at all. I was like, what is this? And I was like,
Oh, no.
oh my God. I was like, is it because I was like aroused for hours last night and never came to
was your
climax?
First blue ball.
First blue balls.
No.
And like it was one of those things where I never like actively went out to ask someone about it. Like I might have heard about it on South Park like a few
Oh my
times, but like
God.
no one ever was like, "We got blue balls the other night." And it's like, "Oh, really cool. What's that?" And then someone's like, an honest conversation about what.
Right.
And so I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Do I need to like?" I was like, "Do I need to shit? Like, what is happening?" I was like, "Do I need to masturbate?"
That's my legitimate question. I'm like, is that how you get rid
so
of it? Like,
that's what I assumed. I was like, "That's the only thing that."
So
assuming
you
this is
had
what that
to,
is.
like, jack it up at Best Buy.
So I,
Oh, God.
first of all, like logistically, I was like, I have to go to a stall.
I mean, yeah. If
Right.
someone walks in, you're like, cool, Alanis Morissette, right on.
Right.
Hey, no problem. This is a medical thing.
I'm not a creep, guys.
No.
Medically, I need to do this.
Wicked case of blue balls
Oh,
for real.
no.
So I go to the stall and I'm like, which way
Oh
do
my
I
God. Do I sit or do I
exactly.
stand
so
towards
at
the
first
toilet?
I'm
man.
standing towards the toilet.
Oh, no.
But I was like,
Getting weak in the...
it was like, well, it was painful to stand, but also I was like, oh, is it? I was overthinking it, of course. So I was like, well, first of all, is this going to get everywhere? And I was like, I don't want that to happen. I was like, second of all, what if someone sees me at my like tilted stance? Because like with like an erect penis, like like the angle there, like a 90-degree
my
angle.
God.
And I was like, you know what? I better just sit down.
Oh, my God.
So now I'm sitting down. So at least
my
it
God.
looked like I was going to the bathroom.
Wait, you're masturbating seated on a toilet the year Daredevil came out, just to be clear.
And so I'm like, oh, I have to like get all this toilet paper because I didn't want
Oh my
it to. Like,
God.
I
Shoot
I had
into
to be
your
in
face.
public. Exactly. I had to be in,
God.
like it could have been a disaster. And like I'm like starting to go
Oh
at
my
it,
God.
and then like someone walks in, of course,
No.
and I'm like, oh God, so I have to wait like the 3 minutes.
and
for
now you're
them-
getting more of a case of blue balls.
right, exactly.
Oh my
and
God.
then
This mirrors you being in the shower as well. The constant
Right.
interruptions, the bath
oh right,
setting.
right,
yeah.
right, of course. And so I
It's like a poem.
So then that person leaves, and I'm like, oh, I guess so. I'm like, doing it. I'm also, for our listeners at home, doing the hand motion for some reason, just to really get Sam involved in this.
Guys,
But,
I'm reliving this experience with him.
so eventually I came, and I was like, instantly, I was like, oh.
Really?
And it wasn't so much that like, it didn't feel good. Like it wasn't like,
it wasn't
oh,
actively hurting.
But then it went away, and I was like, oh, that was amazing. Like that, it just kind of like all that pain was gone. I'm sure if you could have done something like that for your lung, if it was just like, oh, just lift your arm and touch your head, and it'll
Look.
go away. It's
Well,
like,
that's
Next
lung,
time your
that's
lung
lung masturbation.
pops,
Right.
Masturbate.
Just to masturbate the lung.
And it will help.
and so what
Oh my God.
ended up happening is I leave, and like I like I check myself in the mirror, clean myself up. And as I'm leaving, like, Scott was similar to many
God.
stories, like, Scott is, like, approaching the door as I leave. He's like, there you are, man. I was like, oh, sorry, I really had to go to the bathroom, like I said in the car. And he's like, right. I was like, good.
This all syncs up.
Yeah, so then
Years later, Scott's listening to this podcast like, that motherfucker.
Right. Well, the thing is, I'm not sure if he knows, but the best part about the entire story, I was so embarrassed that I never told anyone. But like years later, it was like 3 years later, I was playing Have You Ever?
Oh, no.
And I had never told anyone, but I was like, oh my gosh, my friend Andrew would absolutely love this story. And I was like, or Never Have I Ever.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Yeah. So, like, you know, like someone has like 3 fingers up, we're all drinking beer, we're in his house, and like there's like an array of like girls and guys, and it's like 10 of us. And I just look at him and I go, never have I ever masturbated in a Best Buy. And I put a finger up, and he goes, like, it took him 3 seconds to put the pieces together, but he's like, no. And he gets so excited. He has the funniest laugh. He's like, and it occurred to me at that point that they knew the girl.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, no. They're like, when that happened? I was like, back in 2004. And they're like, you mean with... And I was like, oh, my God. Her best friend is in the room.
No.
And I was like... No, not her at all. And she's like, what? Who are you guys talking about? And I was like, you guys have got to shut up. But they held that over me the whole rest of the night and like for weeks to come, because like they were like planning to tell her. I was like, I'm sure she hasn't told a soul. And I had gone 3 years with keeping the secret. Really, I'm sure the only person
tell a
that might
room
have
full
known.
of her closest friends.
Oh, right. It was awful. But
And then years later to tell a podcast.
The
Right.
world.
now everyone knows.
Guys.
Or the 3 of us know.
Yes.
And all 0.
Starts with 3, guys.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining
thank
us
you
tonight.
so much. I had a
thank you.
blast, Sam.
I'm glad that our lives mirror prisons so much.
We've all got. I love how the connecting thread was
Prison.
when we were young. We lived in very jail-like environments.
I'm going to go home and cry, you guys.
That sounds good.
Right.
Yes.
Sam, do you have anything going on you want to tell us about, or?
I am performing often at the Groundlings, but I don't have a specific date. But I'm on Instant Mom this Thursday
Well,
at 8 p.m.
excellent.
Nick at Night.
Oh, cool. Be sure to check out Instant Mom to see Sam Roy. And are you on Twitter?
I am at Samantha K. Roy.
Great. You sound very unsure. So
I was like,
I
what
hope
is my
it's
Twitter
right.
handle? Oh, yeah, Samantha K. Roy.
So people
just
should
my name.
people should definitely check out.
Creative.
I'm sure tweets will be happening frequently from this account.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can follow ChrenBen's Friend Trends at ChrenBen's, which is ChrenBens. You can also follow Aaron by himself if you want more Best Buy masturbation stories in tweet
I
form.
got a bunch of them.
Yeah, so many. At Krennen, ChrenEnen. And I am at White Bathrobe, which is spelled like how it sounds. Anyway, thank you guys for listening so much.
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Yeah.